Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome to another ship fitting guide for EVE Echoes. In today's video we're going to be continuing our little mini-series looking at the mid-game Tech 7 and Tech 8 battlecruisers, and we're going to do so today by having a look at the Gallente Myrmidon. This is a really cool looking ship, I'll admit. I'm not a huge fan of Gallente designs for the most part, and admittedly the Myrmidon does look a little bit like a Catalyst both grew up and stood up at the same time. Compare this to the Catalyst and you'll see what I mean. Ultimately, when I first covered the Myrmidon in a video on this channel, I didn't really give it much of a fair shot. That was back before I had access to the Fulmination Content Creator server, and thus I didn't have the skills to properly fly it. In fact, in that video you'll notice I only had 4 blasted drones that I could launch. I couldn't even launch the 5th drone. So here we are with me now at Tech Level 10, now with Fulmination access. Let's have a look at the Gallente Myrmidon and talk about how you can fit this at Tech 7 and take it all the way up to Tech Level 10 if this is the kind of ship that you enjoy flying. We're going to have a look at a little bit of a different fit to perhaps some people might be expecting. Now, if you do enjoy this video and you want to see more like it, hit like on the video, really helps me out. Subscribe to the channel for more, dinging that notification bell, you know the drill by now. And finally, if you want to be amazingly awesome and help support this channel, I've got a Patreon page that you can come and pledge to support, patreon.com/Captain Benzie. Little as £1 a month really helps keep this channel going. You can earn some exclusive merchandise, you can get your name in the credits at the end of the video, etc., all depending on how much you're willing to pledge. Anyway folks, all that said and done then, let's jump right into talking about the Gallente Federation's Myrmidon Battlecruiser. I think it's fair to say that drones are probably the most popular weapon type in EVE Echoes. This is partly, in my opinion, due to their versatility, that you can swap between different sizes of drones and different weapon damages on the fly. I think it's partly due to the fact that their main weakness, the fact that they can be destroyed by other ships, doesn't apply in PvE. And I think also, tautologically, it's just due to the fact that they're popular. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think drones are popular because they're popular. People use drones and say that they're the best, therefore more people use drones and think they're the best, and it's kind of circular logic like that. I'm not going to suggest that they're not the best. I think they are fantastic for PvE, and we're going to have a look at that now. Now, of course, there are 2 empires that mainly utilise drones in EVE Echoes, the Amar Empire and the Gallente Federation. Obviously, there's also the Gurstus and the Sisters of Eve, but that's outside the scope of this video, so let's have a look at the Gallente Federation. Now, the Gallente Federation Vexor is one of the first drone cruisers that players will interact with, mainly thanks to the Vexor Trainer being part of the daily login rewards in your first month, the fact that the Vexor itself is just a really good cruiser, it's versatile, it's cheap, it's easy to fit, and then of course we have the ever-popular Vexor Navy issue. I still see a lot of these flying around for PvP, and they're great little ships. Once drone pilots, medium drone pilots hit Tech Level 7, they get access to battlecruisers and the Myrmidon, and of course we're going to take a look at the Myrmidon in more detail later on. I just want to talk about where the Myrmidon expands to. If you enjoy the Myrmidon, once you hit Tech Level 8, we have the Myrmidon Command, which takes the Myrmidon hull and gives it more bonuses towards command bursts. At Tech Level 9, we have the Myrmidon Guardian. If you've ever fancied being the Armoured Guardian in a fleet of ships, then the Myrmidon Guardian is a great way of sort of getting your foot in the door on that. And then at Tech Level 10, we have the Myrmidon 2 Command. Again, a command burst variant of the Myrmidon with some really nice combat bonuses, and if you've trained into command bursts by this point, this is a very powerful ship that I will cover in a future video if people are interested. Let's go back down to Tech Level 7 though. Let's assume that you yourself have just hit Tech Level 7 and you're looking at the Myrmidon as a possible ship. You can see perfectly here actually as well. I'm just going to pause briefly and have a look at that. How difficult the Myrmidon can be to take screenshots of for thumbnails. Yes, the pain is real. Anyway, it's a cool looking ship. As I said, it looks a little bit to me like a Catalyst stood up and grew up, but it can get some really cool skins. Look at the Capsuleer Day 1, that's a really awesome looking skin there. Gallente Navy, who knows, maybe one day we'll get something like a Myrmidon Navy issue at Tech Level 10, I don't know, but it's a cool looking ship, interesting design. There aren't all that many vertical designs in EVE Echoes, so certainly this is one of the cooler, and look at the sunset one, that's just so cool. Anyway, enough of how the Myrmidon looks, let's have a look at its stats. So, attributes and fittings. First of all, its fitting profile. If you weren't already aware that the Myrmidon was a drone ship, the fact that it has 5 drone tubes should pretty much give the game away, and these of course can launch either small or medium drones, and with the current state of things in Echoes, there's almost no reason for it to ever launch small drones, because medium drones hit small targets just fine, but you've got a lot of versatility there, whether you go for like the Amarian ones for electromagnetic, whether you go Gallente for thermal, whether you go Caldari for kinetic, or whether you go Myrmidon for explosive, or whether you want to go for things based on their speed and things like that. Drones, there's a lot of versatility. Again, that's going to be outside the scope of this particular video. For now though, we're just having a look at the fact that it has 5 drone tubes, and that is its primary damage dealer. We then have 3 high slots. This is going to be supplementary damage here in Eve Echoes. We can fit missiles, we can fit cannons, we can fit railguns, we can fit whatever the hell we really like in here. Lasers, decomposers. It depends on what you fancy skilling into. A lot of players use missiles with drone ships for the simple fact that that allows them to then skill into the Gurustus Pirates ships. That said though, obviously Gurustus Pirates are also shield based, so the Myrmidon's not a great way of doing that. Neither really is the Prophecy, and to be fair, because they're both armor tanked, but it is a way of doing it. It's a ship to use whilst you're training up the shield skills in order to fly some of the Gurustus ships perhaps. And ultimately, then missiles are a great high slot. That said, you might be a Gallente purist and decide that actually you don't want to fly just the Myrmidon, you want to fly things like the Brutix or other medium railgun ships, at which point having railguns in the top slots of the Myrmidon can also work really, really well. It depends entirely on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that can snipe, then strike cannons are going to be really good for that, as are medium missiles. Heck, even rifled railguns can be pretty good at that. Beam lasers, yeah, actually, in fairness, too okay. If you want to brawl, then you're going to be looking at pulse lasers, or snub-nosed railguns, or autocannons, possibly torpedoes as well, as an example. And you get 3 of those, so supplementary damage, don't stress it too much, look at whatever you're skilled into and just kind of go for there. Then we have 3 additional mid-slots in addition to the drone slots. These, again, this is your things like your electronic warfare, your energy capacitor warfare, that kind of thing in the mid-slots there. 5 low slots is standard for a ship of this tonnage at this tech level. It's a good amount of tank, a good amount of versatility, propulsion mods, that kind of thing can go in those, and then 3 of each rig. We have a power grid of 651 megawatts. This is actually pretty low for a ship of this size, having just come from recording the Ferox video that had like 900. This only having 600 means it does, you're not going to be able to oversize as much, but it doesn't matter too much because with drone ships, ultimately you're not using as much power grid because the drones, your main weapon system, don't really use any. That's kind of the point there. Cargo hold capacity of 800 cubic meters is also a little bit lower than some of the alternatives, but hey, does that really matter? You might think it does, at which point, yeah. Defense, again, 25,618. I'll be honest, this to me is a little bit lower than I think it ought to be. Most of this is in its armor and structure. As you can see, 7,383 armor, 7,530 on structure, with a smaller shield tank of 6,121. Ultimately, you're going to be armor tanking a Myrmidon, and we'll see reasons as to why later. I just feel that 7,000 isn't actually quite as high as it could be. This is a bit more fragile than I would quite like it to be. We can still make that work. I just personally feel it probably should be buffed a little bit at some point. Again, you might disagree. Capacitor bank 2689, it's middling, but again, being an armor tank and a drone ship, we're not really using capacitor all that much, so it's not terrible. It's going to get the job done with a max capacitor recharge rate of 13.18 gigajoules per second. Its signature radius is large, its scan resolution is fairly low. Actually, it ends up being the worst scan resolution battlecruiser at this tech level, assuming you're taking skills into account. Flight velocity, again, is middling to slow. It's not the slowest, but it's definitely not the fastest either. Its mass and inertia aren't terrible. It's a little bit more agile than you might expect, and 2.7 astronomical units per second of warp speed is absolutely standard. When we come to the roll bonuses though here, ultimately drone battlecruisers have a 15-kilometer drone command range increase, whereas the turret battlecruisers get 25% optimal range and 25% accuracy fall off, plus the missile battlecruisers get 25% flight velocity. This is a flat 15 kilometers. It's not terrible, it actually really helps. It means if you want to go for a kiting fit, you can put in lots of drone command range extenders into your rigs and things like that to get a bit more range out of it. You'll see that that's not the build we're going for on this particular ship, as you'll see in a few, but you can go for that fit if you want. Advanced medium drone upgrade, again being a battle cruiser, they use the upgrade, advanced upgrade, rather than cruisers at this level are using advanced operation, because the game is going to assume that you've gone deeper into the weapon system by time you're upgrading to battle cruisers. That's going to give us 30% additional drone damage, so that's a total there at full level 5 of 150% drone damage, on top of having 5 drone tubes. So from 5 drone tubes, we're actually looking at basically having 7.5. It's a big increase. It really helps with the amount of damage that these drones can kick out. Drone EHP as well is standard for Gallente ships that are using drones. It means in a PvP scenario, your drones have 25% more health at full training here. They are a little bit more tanky and it takes a little bit more time to destroy them. They're still fragile, but ultimately the longer it takes to destroy them, the more damage they're able to do, and you can quickly replace them in combat. It just means that you're a bit tougher to take out in PvP. Finally then, Battlecruiser Command gives a 7.5% increase to Armor Repairer Armor Repair. That is, of course, a full 37.5% additional armor repair per cycle of an Armor Repairer once that is at full training. This is why I actually quite like the Myrmidon as a brawler. Yes, that still works at range, and with the 15 kilometers, we can go at some extra range. Once you've got the 30 kilometer drone control range from training up the drone skill, the 15 kilometers there takes you to 45. That's not humongous range, you're still going to be taking some damage back. Obviously, again, at that point, if you're going rifled railguns, yes, you can be shooting with those. If you're going strike cannons, those will be in range. I think beam lasers are a bit out of range at that point, to be fair. Missiles should just be able to as well. You can go for a kiting fit, but if we've got bonuses to tanking with the armor repairers, I kind of want to try this as a brawler, and so that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video, because I think there's enough footage out there of people using Myrmidons and Prophecies as drone snipers, so today we're going to look at the Myrmidon as a brawler. And here's the fit. As usual, there's a QR code on screen now that if you're using the Sweet Fitting Tool app, available for iOS, Android, and PC, whether that's Windows, Linux, or iOS, you can download that. Using the QR, you can download this complete fit and compare it to your current skills and see what kind of DPS and kind of things you could do with this ship there. Maybe you've got some ideas beyond what I've got here, and you can showcase these back to me. I love having these conversations with people. If you think that there's something on this fit that could be improved, let me know. I love having those conversations. I love to learn. I love to help you guys out. And obviously, I'm not a dedicated Myrmidon pilot. There are people out there who fly these as their main ship of choice. That's not me. I've got many other ships that I fly at the same time. So, looking at the fit here, I'm going for an up-close and personal Captain Benzie special brawling build. This is because when we look at things here, I've got a 50-kilometer drone range thanks to all the bonuses from the ship and skills. 50 kilometers to me is not quite at the range I'd want to be drone sniping. It's kind of the range where you are more kiting and sort of skirmishing than you are doing anything else. Now, for me, with that bonus to the armor repairers, we can probably tank quite a bit of damage, so that's where we're going to start. I'm going to start by fitting on 2 medium armor repairers, C-types. Each of these, you can see, we've got a 6.54 second activation time, and they repair 829 armor per activation. Remember, armor repairers do it at the end of their activation, so you do need to activate them before you start taking damage. And by having 2 of these, it means I'm actually healing 829 armor every 6.27 seconds, every 3.27 seconds, which is actually really quite fast. That's a lot of healing going on there. That's better than a large armor repairer. And the question might be, well, why not put a large armor repairer on here? Look at all the power grid you've got left. Well, ultimately, even with a whole stack of ancillary power grid routers, you can't fit large armor repairers into this power grid. You get a whole ton of power grid left over, pretty much whatever I try to fit into it, and that's actually kind of disappointing. It's like, oh, I need more power grid. Maybe you've got some cool ideas that I'm missing completely here. I've then gone for 2 adaptive armor hardeners just to increase my resistances and reduce the total damage I take, therefore meaning the big heals actually only have to heal smaller amounts of damage, and that kind of works, as you'll see later. The final low slot I've gone for is a drone damage amplifier standard weapon upgrade module to get a bit more DPS out of this. Ultimately, if you're going for sort of more of a kiting fit, then this can be swapped out, or some of the tanking modules can be swapped out for like the drone navigation computer, stuff like that, just to get the additional range and like application time from them that way. For the mid-slots, I've gone for a Vrikalarkus medium energy Nosferatu. Again, we cannot fit a large in here. Boy, I tried. I tried with Mark 9. Mark 9 large Nosferatu just doesn't fit. We cannot get that into the power grid here. It just really doesn't work as much as I wish it does. But with that one Nosferatu, you can see we're over 50% capacitor stable. It's comfortable enough. You could probably swap one of the 2 Predator Stasis Webifiers out for an additional Nosferatu if you just want to be absolutely certain that your power grid, your capacitor isn't going to run dry. In fairness, with medium drones having the tracking and that they do, you can pretty much get away with just having 1 web. I've gone for 2 because I'm in angel space and that kind of stuff kind of becomes a bit more required. But if you're going up against slower moving rats, swap one of those Stasis Webifiers for another Nosferatu and just enjoy the fact that you're going to have cap for days. Finally then, for the high slots, I've actually gone for torpedoes. I am on a bit of a torpedo buzz at the moment. I really like using these. The explosion velocity and explosion radius is a lot better than I thought it was. The damage is really high, and for a brawling build, 11.8 kilometers is okay range. We're going to be sort of warping at 0, sitting there and hitting things with torpedoes, and as you'll see in the combat section in a moment, that's not a problem. Even though we don't have prop mod, everything comes to us. We can just hit it with our drones at 50 kilometers, and anything that happens to get close gets torpedoed, and the damage that those can do, well, it's pretty monstrous. As you can see, if I come back out and have a look here, 293 DPS just from the 3 torpedoes there. It's a lot of extra damage, and I quite like this. I've had a lot of fun doing this. It's probably not the most optimal build. I think, honestly, yeah, if you want the bigger ticks and stuff, you can probably go for more of a kiting build, using medium medium rifled railguns or medium missiles and stuff like that. But I just find this more fun. It's a bit more active, a bit more engaging, and I get to see the explosions up close and personal. Drones, this kind of depends whatever you want to use. I've just gone for Federation Navy hammerheads because, well, it's a Federation Navy ship. It's a Gallente Federation ship, so I've just kind of gone for the ones that fit. But obviously, pick the drone that is best for the situation. If you're going up against, say, Gallente ships, then you probably want to have something that's doing explosive or kinetic damage, same with the Mars ships. If you're going up against Guristus, then having something that's doing electromagnetic is probably going to be the better option. Against Minmatar, I kind of tend to go for thermal or kinetic, just a better balance, but explosive will do nicely, electromagnetic will do nicely. It's kind of really neither here nor there, really, when it comes to PvE, if we're being completely honest. For the rigs, standard DPS setup of drone firepower augmenter and drone speed augmenter, those are both there. I like the fact that they have now fixed the activation time adjustment, so I don't have to explain that this isn't how fast a drone moves anymore. Anti-explosive pump, just because I'm in Minmatar space. Again, this could just be additional heal per second, the auxiliary nano pump or whichever one it is, and that gives you more armor rep per cycle. Heck, even the one that's just more armor is not necessarily a bad thing to go for. For the engineering rigs though, semiconductor memory cell capacitor control circuit to help with capacitor stability, and this time I've gone for a polycarbon engine housing just so I can rotate and move a bit more between the areas. This is kind of the wild card slot. This could be a targeting subcontroller rig, this could be all kinds of stuff really. Obviously a dynamic fuel valve's not a great option at this point because we're not running prop mods, but anything you really fancy here can ultimately work. If you want to try and put some ancillary power grids on there to see if you can upgrade some of these modules, well, that's up to you. I did try. I think you could just about squeeze some stuff in once you had 3 ancillary power grid rig 3s, but it just didn't seem worth it at that point. I kind of have a rule that if you're using more than one ancillary power grid router, you should be considering, is this really the best use of my rig slots? And I just don't think using more than 2 is ever worth it, unless you're going for a proper meme fit. On to the nano core then. Again, for these videos, I'm liking to keep the nano cores nice and cheap, so I've just gone for a standard Serpentis veteran core for 14.4% drone damage. If you're using the Concorde pass, you can get considerably better nano cores than this. Drone damage is going to be a good thing for you, as is anything tanky. So anything that's going to improve your armor, the amount of armor you repair, that kind of thing is going to really help. In order of priority, I would probably go drone damage, armor repair and armor sort of stats, and then capacitor to help fuel it underneath. Those are the 3 things you're going to be looking at most for this ship. Anyway, enough of talking about how to fit this, let's actually see it in action, shall we? I'll be completely honest, I still have conniptions every time my shield hits below 25% and the game starts screaming at me that, oh my goodness, your shield's taking damage. Yeah, I'm primarily a speed tank or a shield tank pilot, so when it comes to armor tanking, I still have that little bit of like an issue with it. But we're here again in an Angel 10 small anomaly, sorry, just to showcase this in comparison to the other battlecruisers that I've been showing, and check out that explosion. That is a beautiful explosion there, and it actually stayed in position beautifully behind the Myrmidon. Wave 4 has spawned. We're locking onto everything. You can see I'm already in range for the torpedoes to be doing their thing. I've got a 9-kilometer orbit set on whatever the biggest ship around me is. I've got both my armor repairers working. I should really have these countersynced, and you can see I'm trying to sort of get that countersync. Now I've cancelled one of them. When the other one's halfway through, I'll reactivate it so that it's not just every 6 seconds you get a big heal, but I get the full heal from one of these every half time, so every 3.27 seconds, I think it was. Ultimately, I still have this issue where drones don't seem to properly move to their next target. So here that Hound is currently just taking damage from the torpedoes. My drones are just sort of hanging back with me. Then off they go there, and the Hound just disappears in a puff of impotency. Down it goes. Look at that speed. It just down goes its shield, down goes its armor, and poof, off it goes. So I'm just going to keep picking the targets one by one. You can see the capacitor is coping okay. I'm orbiting at 9 kilometers around the biggest target I can find, in this case, the Gist Typhoon 2. I've got the Nosferatu draining from it to keep my capacitor as topped up as best it can, even with 2 webs going, all the drones, me activating the drone damage amplifier when I can. Obviously, my drones aren't using capacitor, my torpedoes aren't using capacitor, it is just the armor hardeners and the armor repairers and the webifiers that are using it constantly, and occasionally I'm getting a little spike when the drone damage amplifier, conveniently hidden behind the medal in the bottom right corner of my video here, I'm sure, is activated. Obviously, that's just a little bit of burst DPS there to help me cut through whatever ship, in that case, the Stabber. I'm going to web here the Gist Talwar 2 Assault, just slow it down a little bit. Off go my drones. There they go, look at them go, the evil little things. To start cutting that apart with, I assume it's railguns on a Gallente drone. Yeah, they do thermal damage, not thermal and kinetic, but I assume it is just a type of railgun that they're using there. Anyway, they come back to me, and off go my little busy bees. There we go, off to the Cyclone. I'll be honest, there's something just rather fun about using drones, just drifting and letting these tiny little buzzing insects essentially rip apart your target for you. However, due to how quickly they fire, it is almost impossible to get combat screenshots without having all of that spam of text across the center of your beautiful screenshots. Although again, the Myrmidon is just a blasted hard ship to screenshot anyway, because it just doesn't fit in camera because of its how ridiculously upright and elongated it actually is. Now, ultimately I found here that this worked really well. Tech 10 small anomaly, no questions asked, no problems here at all. This is Minmatar, so they're doing mainly explosive damage to me. As an armor tank, that should be struggling. So if you're in somewhere like Sanchez space or Blood Raider space, you'll actually find that this does even better than you're seeing here, simply because you're taking electromagnetic damage, which obviously nukes that tiny shield you have, but from there, doesn't really scratch your armor, especially with the 2 armor repairers running quite comfortably under a capacitor like this. You can easily do this. This Myrmidon quite happily face tanks at 0, Tech 10 medium angel anomalies. It will do Tech 7 specials, which you can tank pretty comfortably there. Be aware that obviously you're going to be scrammed by a few things, but they're going to be close enough that your torpedoes will be able to blap them off the screen nice and quickly and easily. And that's what I really liked about this. This was actually, for a Tech 7 ship, a surprisingly fast encounter. Takes me a bit of time to get through the battleships, as you can see, but everything else goes down surprisingly quickly, and, well, I don't mind it being slightly less effective if it's more fun. So if the Myrmidon is a ship that you enjoy, look at it just drifting across in the background there, that croissant-shaped silhouette of doom. If you're a fan of the Myrmidon, then yeah, you can take this all the way up to Tech level 10 content. You can be doing your ratting in Tech level 10 systems. If you do go down to somewhere that has Tech level 6 or Tech level 7, look out for special anomalies. You will quite comfortably do those as well, and you can get some really good loot from those. But here we are, end of a Tech 10 Angel anomaly, and we are at full armor, and we are creeping towards full capacitor. Comfortable, easy to do, a little bit more, you know, interesting than just warp to 100 and then just blap everything in a semi-AFK way. You get to watch the explosions up close and personal, you get to see things go down a bit faster because your secondary weapon system is actually doing some good damage as well, the torpedoes here, rather than like long-range missiles, for example. But let me know your thoughts and opinions. If you're flying a Myrmidon, I would love to know what kind of fit you've gone for. Are you standardly using the kiting and sniping? Are you going to try using the brawling fit? What do you think? Is this something you've tried before and just didn't enjoy? Why do you fly drone ships? I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this and so much more in the comment section down below. Remembering every comment you enter is a chance to win a month of Combo Omega. I give a month of Combo Omega to 1 random YouTube commenter every week, and I give 1 month of Combo Omega to 2 random people on my public Discord every week as well. So make sure you are both places, commenting, being active in the community, helping other players, and hopefully winning some Combo Omega. Kablooey. Anyway, folks, on that teleporting explosion right there, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.